New and used vehicle demand is at like all-time highs, and it's just crazy right now. As a result of decreased supply of all these different factors that are going on across the globe, we're finding that dealers are marking up vehicles well above MSRP, the manufacturer's suggested retail price. Back when I bought my F-150 in 2014, I paid way under sticker, and that was the norm for like years and years and years. You would never expect to go in and pay sticker price, the MSRP. You would just go in knowing I'm going to get a discount, I'm going to get a rebate. There's no way anything but that is happening. But nowadays it's totally different. A recent survey that looked at over 1.2 million new car listings in the US said that the average new car price in America is 9.9% more than MSRP. This new normal is looking pretty expensive. But the top two cars that are percentage-wise the most marked up just kind of blew my mind, because I would have guessed that it's something like a new Mercedes G-Wagen, maybe some special edition Lamborghini Huracan STO, maybe something like a Ferrari SF90, these really crazy, rare, sought-after vehicles. But it's not those. These are cheap vehicles that by the percentages are marked up an insane amount. The top two vehicles that are the most marked up right now are the Jeep Wrangler and the Ford Maverick. Both of those models on average are being sold for 25% over MSRP. But that's just on average, which means in a lot of states it's way more than that. Let's talk about the Maverick first. This is one of the cheapest new cars you can buy. It's a truck, but cheapest new vehicles you can buy. It starts at just under 20 grand, and it comes in as a 4-door hybrid pickup truck. Now that XL model doesn't come with cruise control, it's pretty bare bones, but for $20,000 for a new vehicle, that's pretty amazing. Even a really well optioned Lariat model is like 35 grand. So it's a pretty darn cheap vehicle, but because it's so cheap, because it's so sought after as gas prices continue to rise, the demand is skyrocketing. And in some states, the percentage that these things are selling for above MSRP tops 30%. We're talking about Pennsylvania, Virginia, New Jersey, Massachusetts, and Washington. All of those states are charging on average over 30% above MSRP. That means these trucks are selling for over $7,000 above what the price is. So let's say I'm trying to get a Lariat and I'm looking at about a $30,000 truck. People are on average buying these for like $37,000. This is F-150 money. And the Jeep Wrangler isn't much better. In Connecticut, Colorado, Wisconsin, and South Carolina, the Jeep Wrangler is the most marked up vehicle. It's right there around 30% also. And because the Wrangler is more expensive on average than the Maverick, that means that these vehicles are selling for over $10,000 above sticker price. And speaking of the Wrangler, Jeep vehicles in general account for the highest marked up automobiles in 30 different states. I've driven some Jeeps. I personally don't think it's worth paying $10,000 over just to try and get the Wrangler that you want, or any Wrangler. That's insane. This is crazy. But these kinds of things happen whenever we have shortages, because I just finished this book by Morgan Housel called The Psychology of Money. Here it is right here. And he talks about some of these things that we do just as people, that even if it's illogical to pay $7,000 to $10,000 over for a relatively cheap car, we'll do it because it's rare, because it's sought after, because it's in high demand, because frankly, those vehicles are cool. There's a social capital that goes along with owning those right now that we think is worth it. One of the problems with doing this with new vehicles is the double whammy of then paying above sticker price for this vehicle that then immediately when you drive it off the lot is worth far less than sticker price. And so you've just created this $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 delta between what you paid and what this thing is worth. It's depreciating like a rock. The impact that has on your overall finances can be pretty bad because you're making payments or you're sending all this money towards this thing that is losing value. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand that we have to buy cars. And as an example, we just bought a new car for my wife last year. So I'm not saying that it's stupid to buy new cars in every situation. I'm just saying that we need to be careful whenever we have these kinds of situations where there's this market frothing. It's like piranhas getting raw meat. We have to kind of take a step back and take a breather and decide, do I really need a brand new vehicle that bad to take that kind of hit when it comes to depreciation? I think there's some ways that we can avoid this. First of all, we can look for dealers that don't do ADM, adjusted dealer markup. Market adjustment is another term they might use. There's a lot of ways that dealers can try and sneak this in there because they're essentially saying the demand is so high we can get away with it. But there are dealers out there that don't do markups. So if we do a little bit of homework, we can find those people, we can buy from them, we can save ourselves the depreciation, and then we can reward them for having that kind of integrity and desire to do right by their customers. So that's one option. Another option is to potentially buy a little bit of a used car. Now the used car market isn't a whole lot better because in general vehicles are scarce. So the used car prices have gone up too. But at least finding something that's 3 to 5 years old, it's already taken the bulk of its depreciation hit. Unlike that brand new car that you just drove off the lot and paid 10 grand over for. So even if the market is ballooned a little bit and that vehicle is 5 or 10% overvalued, odds are good that you're losing less money overall, even if we are in a used car market bubble. It's funny because I personally felt the sting of this whole Ford Maverick example because I tried to order a Ford Maverick. I called my Ford dealer that I used to work at, that I still have have friends there. And I said, hey, I want to order a Ford Maverick. Here's the spec that I want. They got back to me and they said, hey, Ford is literally not accepting any more Maverick orders. They're done. They've cut us off. You cannot order a Maverick. Maybe in the summertime, 2022, they'll open it back up, but who knows? So that was interesting and crazy because I'm assuming that Ford just doesn't have the parts and people and supply chain that it needs to make these things happen. But I ran into this whole adjusted dealer markup situation whenever I asked that salesman, hey, what about these other dealers? I can look online. I can look at Ford's website and see that they have trucks that I would buy. I'm not that particular when it comes to ordering vehicles like this. Like, as long as it's not a terrible color and a terrible spec, I'll buy it. I don't care, especially when the Maverick is so cheap. But he said that the only way that those dealers would do a dealer swap with them and trade vehicle for vehicle is if we paid upwards of $5,000 to $10,000 over the sticker price just to get that vehicle, which here we are. This is exactly what we're talking about in this video. It's totally crazy. I mean, I'm looking at a truck that's about $26,000, so paying 5 or 10 over just makes no sense. I'm curious to know what you think about this and what your experience has been over the last year or so when it comes to buying vehicles. Odds are you or someone you know has tried to buy a vehicle and you have some kind of crazy story. So leave that for me in the comments because I'd like to read that story for myself and hear what you've gone through. Speaking of new vehicles and new vehicle development, there was a new rule that just got passed that the whole fleet of an automaker has to average 49 miles per gallon now. I just made a video about that, so click here to watch that video. It's pretty crazy.